So there's an interesting report coming out this evening that Microsoft contacted AMD months ago and began talks about possibly buying out the company. AMD, of course, being the company who provides chips and graphics processors for PCs. Apple, they make the chips for Xbox One, PS4, and the Nintendo Wii U. Now, there have been reports for a while that AMD was talking about breaking up and spinning off certain divisions. Reuters had a report out in June talking about it. AMD, of course, competes with NVIDIA and Intel, but the company's been on a downward spiral for a while, even though they've had some successes in the past. And the problem, according to experts, is that they just don't have enough money in the bank to perform proper research and development in order to make new products that are able to compete with Intel and NVIDIA. Intel and NVIDIA have a pretty big bankroll, so they've got plenty of money to put into research, and then in that process they get better products. So AMD, on the other hand, has been having to downsize, put less money into research and development, which means their products aren't going to be as good, and so they've kind of just been on this downward cycle. So Microsoft, on the other hand, is one of the world's leaders when it comes to research and development. They pump in over $10 billion each year into that category alone, and if they were to take over AMD, then experts say that they could give the research and development department the money that it needs to really have an impact and be able to compete with these other companies and to make a pretty big change on the PC market. Not only that, but AMD does business with a lot of other companies, like I mentioned, like Apple. AMD is currently estimated to be worth $1.81 billion. And that sounds like a lot of money until you look at Microsoft and the fact that they have over $95 billion of cash on hand. So if they wanted to make a deal that AMD couldn't refuse, then they probably could. The question is it really going to be beneficial to Microsoft? Microsoft would need chips for Xbox and smartphones and tablets and possibly HoloLens or whatever other products they have coming down the line. But if you look at just the Xbox One alone, it's estimated that Microsoft pays AMD $100 for each chip that's in the Xbox One. So researchers estimate that Microsoft has already paid over $1.2 billion for chips in the Xbox One to AMD. So possibly buying AMD would save them $1 billion just on the Xbox One alone. And of course, the other thing to consider is PlayStation and Nintendo also pay AMD for each console that's sold. So if this did end up happening, what you would have is Sony and Nintendo possibly writing checks to Microsoft every time a PS4 or Wii U system is purchased. And it would also put pressure on the next system go around, because Sony would have to go to them with their PS5 and say, this is what we need to go into the system. So Microsoft would know what's going into the PlayStation 5 before the system even entered production, which would give them kind of an upper hand. Now, Sony could go the route of going to NVIDIA like they tried to do with the PS3, or, try coming up with their own hardware if they wanted to go that route. But it could make some interesting angles if this were to indeed happen. Microsoft and AMD currently are refusing to comment on the story, and you have to also keep in mind that just a few weeks ago, it was reported that Samsung was interested in buying out AMD. So this is certainly still in the rumor category and has no way been confirmed. But it is a pretty well-known site that put this information out there, and if this did end up happening, it could indeed have some interesting implications if it comes to fruition. So if you want to read more about it, links down in the description box. Let me know what you think about this report. That does it for me, the Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Are you listening? Damn.